Hey guys, it's Luke from the Idea Foundry answering a couple questions about wood turning today. I got started wood turning about 3 years ago when I wanted to make stool legs, and I thought wood turning would be a cool way to get that done. Now that I teach Introduction to Wood Turning, I get asked a lot of the same questions that I asked when I got started wood turning. So here's a video of the 4 most commonly asked questions that I get from new wood turners. Before I get started, I want to start with a question myself, and that is, what are you trying to do, and what are you trying to make with the lathe? That's really important because there's different tools and know-how and accessories all to get your project done. So what goes into getting started is really about what you're trying to do. That kind of leads into our first question, which is, what tools do I need to get started? So the obvious one is a lathe. If you're here at the Idea Foundry, we have 5 lathes that are 12 inches by 21 inch diameter long, 4 jets and 1 Rikon. These are great medium standard size lathes to get a lot of projects done. We also have 1 grizzly lathe that is 12 inches in diameter by 42 inches long, so a little bit longer length that you can turn for your table legs and stuff. And then it also has a rotating headstock, which is really nice, which allows you to turn larger bowls and vessels as well. These are just 2 types and 2 sizes, but there's a lot of other sizes and measurements in between that. The next tool set that you're going to want to have is gouges. Gouges are really important for cutting into our material. So what I recommend is an 8 gouge starter set, kind of for beginners. It's going to have kind of your core tools that you need, and then you can always build from that. A couple of those tools to mention are your spindle gouge. This is a really important tool to have in the toolbox. Your roughing gouge is really important as well. And then this parting tool is really useful tool for a variety of things, and there's a lot of different sizes of this tool, along with the scraper. So that's some common ones. It's also really nice to have a skew chisel or a bowl gouge in there if you're going to try a bowl or vessel project. We have a bunch of these tools at the Idea Foundry, along with a couple other tools as well. And then the next thing you're going to need is ways to attach your material to the lathe. So 2 of the most commonly used methods are drive center and live center. So drive center, 4 feet and a point, and then a live center here with a ball bearing that helps move with your wood. And then this chuck. So here's a 4-jaw chuck that tightens or loosens up with your different material. It's great for bowls and vessels, but it's also great for other spindle projects and just gripping onto material. And then there's other accessories that you can use. A lot more than what I'm bringing out today, but here's a pen mandrel. You're going to need one of these if you're turning pens or stuff like that. And then a drill chuck if you want to drill and basically turn this into a horizontal drill. Drill chucks are also useful. We have all these tools at the Idea Foundry, but those are just some to maybe get you started with as well. Next question that I have is, when do I use different speed settings? So this is really important for if you're cutting or sanding or finishing or doing a variety of different things, but there's also a safety equation along with our speed settings. And it's basically centered around how big of stock are you starting with. So the equation is diameter in inches by RPMs equals 6,000 to 9,000 units, with diameter being the inches of your stock material, and then revolutions per minute, how fast your tool is turning, needs to be in that unit range. So if we look at 3-inch stock, you need to be somewhere in the range of 2,000 to 3,000 RPMs to be in that unit range. And if we look at 6-inch stock, you need to be closer to the 1,000 range, maybe up to 1,400 to be in a safe range as well. And then, if you look at sanding, I always recommend somewhere between 900 RPMs and 1,400 RPMs, because the faster you go, the more material you take off while sanding. So those are just a couple things about speed setting, something to get you going when you're getting started. Next question that I have is, what's the difference between using large lathes and small lathes? So there's a variety of different lathes. I basically mentioned a medium standard size lathe and a large lathe earlier. There's also small desktop lathes used for like pen turning, small ornament turning, and smaller things. There's even larger lathes than that for like huge banisters and things, etc. So it really depends on what you're trying to turn, what gets the most use for the machine for you, and also what size space do you have. And then I obviously mentioned what we have here that you could work with if you're a member here. Last question I have is, where do I get materials and what type of materials should I get? Well, this is a really great question with lots of options. If you're an online shopper, there's two websites that I really recommend. One is woodturnerscatalog.com. They have project kits, they have material, they have accessories, they have tools themselves and lathes and stuff like that. So they have almost everything, kind of like a one-stop shop. They're a great place to start, along with tutorial videos. And then Penn State Industries is another company that I have linked into the article attached to this video, and they have similar things, project kits and materials and things like that. So another great website. And then I always price check for what I can find most affordable on the internet. If you're looking for a supply store within Columbus, well, Woodcraft on Bethel Road is a great source. They have project materials and exotic woods and domestic woods, along with project kits and sanding equipment and finishing supplies and all of that kind of good stuff. And they're a great resource just to go in and talk with them. Along with Woodworks on Claycraft Road on the other side of town. They're a great resource as well. They have a lot of different materials. They also have a lot of tools that you could use for wood turning, and they're a good resource to talk with as well. Common types of materials are going to be wood, plywood, acrylics. Those are kind of the three big ones. But you can also cast things in resin and turn them. I've seen pencils and other things done like that. You can do cork, pods. You can turn carrots. There's a lot of things you can turn. But there's one material that you really can't turn, and that is most metals. For metals, you want to use a metal lathe. And what's awesome is that Rachel, staff instructor here, she actually went over what you can do with a metal lathe and another Q&A blog, and that's also linked into this article. So hope I answered some questions. If you ever have other questions and you're in the shop, feel free to ask me. Otherwise, have a great weekend, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.